Tall silver buildings touched the dark sky. But Marcus Haile did not feel peace. He had arrived only 3 days ago. A human engineer on a 2-year contract. His job was simple: repair energy systems for the alien colony. Good money, safe work, no war. That was what the brochure promised. Marcus stood inside his small apartment, staring at a metal box filled with tools. He missed Earth already. The air smelled different here. The sky looked purple at night. Even the silence felt strange. Then someone knocked. 3 soft knocks. Marcus frowned. A young alien girl stood outside. She looked about 20. Her silver hair fell over one shoulder. She wore simple gray clothing, no jewelry, no smile. Her eyes did not meet his. She stepped inside without asking. Marcus moved back in surprise. "Hello, I am the girl assigned to you by local authorities. You may use me however you want." Marcus blinked. For a moment, he thought he heard wrong. "I'm sorry, what?" he asked. She kept her eyes down. "I am your assigned support unit. My purpose is to assist you in any way you desire." Her voice sounded trained, practiced, like she had said this many times before. Marcus felt something cold in his chest. "I didn't request anyone," he said slowly. "The assignment is automatic for off-world human workers," she replied. She stood perfectly still, hands folded in front of her. No emotion on her face. Marcus studied her more closely. There were faint marks on her wrists, thin silver circles. Like something had been locked there before. He swallowed. "What's your name?" he asked. "I am Unit 7 Delta. That's not a name." She paused for half a second. Personal names are unnecessary. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. "Okay, stop, just stop. What exactly are you?" She finally looked up at him. Her eyes were soft violet, but they were empty. "I am assigned property for your comfort and productivity." The word property hit him hard. He stepped back as if someone had pushed him. "Property?" he repeated. "Yes." Silence filled the room. Its shadow moved across the walls. Marcus felt anger rising inside him. You can't just send a person to someone like a package. "I am not classified as a person," she answered quietly. That was worse. Marcus walked to the small table and pressed a communication panel on the wall. It lit up blue. "Local administration office," a robotic voice answered. "Yes," Marcus said quickly. "No error detected," the voice replied. "Support. Unit 7 Delta has been properly assigned to human worker, Marcus Haile. This program improves worker satisfaction by 37%. I don't want her." There was a short pause. "All human workers accept support units," the voice sighed. "I don't." Another pause. Longer this time. "Refusal is unusual. Please reconsider. The unit is already registered under your authority." Authority. The word felt heavy. She stood exactly where she had been before, waiting. "Send her back," Marcus said firmly. "That request will require review. Processing may take up to 48 hours. Until then, the unit remains your responsibility." The line disconnected. Marcus stared at the blank screen. "You don't have to stand like that," he said. "Yes, I do. Why?" "Because I am waiting for instruction." Marcus let out a long breath. He pointed at the chair near the window. "Sit. Eyes forward, like a machine." Marcus felt sick. "What happens if I don't give you instructions?" he asked. "I will remain available." "For how long?" "As long as you require." "And if I hurt you?" She did not react. "That is within your authority." The room felt smaller. Marcus walked to the kitchen unit and poured a glass of water. His hands were shaking. This planet was not what he thought. This was not cultural difference. This was control. He looked at her again. "You're not a unit," he said quietly. "You're a person." She blinked slowly. "I do not understand that statement." "Of "Course you don't," he muttered. Outside, two small drones hovered near the building, watching, noticed them through the window. His heart tightened. This was not just a strange custom. This was a system. And he had just stepped into it. He walked closer to her. "What would you choose?" he asked carefully. "If you had a choice?" For the first time, something changed in her expression. Confusion. A tiny crack in the empty mask. "I am not designed to choose," she whispered. "Then maybe," he said softly. "That's the first thing we fix." The drones outside remained still. The city lights kept glowing, but inside that small apartment, something had already begun to change. And someone somewhere was definitely watching. Marcus did not sleep that night. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The city lights moved slowly across the walls. Outside, transport ships passed in silence. Lyra, no. Unit 7 Delta, sat in the chair near the window. She had not moved for hours, not even once. Marcus turned his head toward her. "You can rest," he said quietly. "I do not require rest unless instructed," she replied. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Marcus sat up. "You're not a robot. I am a biological support unit. That's just a different word for slave." She did not answer. Marcus stood and walked toward her. "Did they grow you for this?" he asked. "Yes." The answer came fast. "No parents?" "Unknown. No childhood?" "Not relevant." Marcus felt something twist inside his chest. She spoke about her own life like it was a broken tool. He walked to the kitchen and opened a small storage container. He pulled out a nutrition bar. "Eat," he said, handing it to her. She looked at it. "Consumption is not required at this hour." "I didn't ask if it was required. I asked you to eat." She obeyed immediately. That was the problem. Everything was obedience. Marcus sat across from her. "What do they tell you about humans?" He asked. "That humans have high stress levels. Humans require emotional and physical comfort. Humans are unpredictable." He almost laughed. "That last part is true." She finished eating and folded her hands again. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Tell me something," he said. "Has anyone ever refused you before?" She paused. Processing. "No." The word felt heavy in the room. "What happens if I report you as defective?" Marcus asked. "I would be recycled." He froze. "Recycled?" "Yes. Biological material repurposed." The words were spoken without fear, but her fingers tightened slightly. Marcus noticed. "That was not nothing. So if I say you are not useful, they destroy you?" "Yes." Silence filled the room again. Marcus looked toward the window. The drones were still there. Watching. Always watching. He stood and walked toward the door. "Come with me," he said. She stood immediately. They stepped into the hallway. Other apartment doors were closed. Marcus could hear faint voices from inside. One unit, a human man laughing. An alien girl's soft voice answering. Marcus felt sick. He walked toward the building balcony that overlooked the city. Lyra followed one step behind him. The wind was cool. Purple lights filled the horizon. Marcus leaned on the railing. "Do you know why they assign you to humans?" he asked. "To maintain harmony between species." "That's the official answer." "Yes." "And the real answer?" She looked confused. "There is no alternative answer." Marcus watched the sky. "They're studying us," he said slowly. "They want to know how humans react, what we want, what we tolerate." Lyra remained silent. "You're not support," he continued. "You're data." She blinked. "That statement is not in my knowledge file." "Of course it isn't." Marcus looked down at the streets far below. He saw two security officers walking together, watching buildings, checking screens. This planet looked peaceful, but it was controlled. Marcus turned toward her. "What would happen if you disobeyed me?" She answered instantly. "Pain correction." His jaw tightened. "So they can punish you remotely?" "Yes, and you're not afraid?" She hesitated. That was new. Fear response is minimized during training. But it's still there, he said softly. She did not deny it. For the first time, Marcus saw something behind her empty expression. Not emotion, but exhaustion. Deep exhaustion. He lowered his voice. I'm not going to hurt you. She nodded automatically. I believe that is statistically likely. That's not what I meant. He stepped closer. I'm not going to own you. I'm not going to command you. And I'm definitely not going to send you to be recycled. Her breathing changed slightly. Small, unstable, double quotes. Your refusal places you at risk, she said quietly. I know. You may lose your contract. No. You may be removed from the planet. I know. The wind grew stronger. For the first time, she looked directly at him. Why? She asked. The word sounded different. Not programmed. Curious. Marcus smiled slightly. Because on Earth, he said, we don't accept change just because they look polite. She did not fully understand, but she listened. Behind them, a red light flashed briefly on the building wall. Marcus noticed it. A scanning pulse. The system was recording everything. He leaned closer to her and lowered his voice. From now on, he whispered, your name is Lyra. She froze. That designation is not authorized. I don't care. Names mattered. Identity mattered. She looked down at her hands. Lyra, she repeated slowly. The word felt strange in her mouth, but something changed in her eyes. Very small, very quiet, but real. Below the balcony, one of the security officers looked up. Their eyes locked with Marcus for half a second. Then the officer tapped something on a wrist device. Marcus felt it. The system had noticed. This was no longer just a misunderstanding. This was the beginning of resistance, and resistance had consequences. Lyra stood beside him. She had a name. For the first time in his life, Marcus understood the price of saying no. And somewhere inside the city network, a file updated. Human worker Marcus Hawley. Behavioral deviation detected. The system was adjusting, and it would not stay silent for long. The next morning, everything changed. Marcus woke up to silence. Too much silence. He sat up quickly and looked toward the chair near the window. Lyra was not there. His heart jumped. He stood and scanned the apartment. The door was still. Locked. No alarms. No broken glass. Then he heard something. A soft sound from the bathroom. Not mechanical. Not calm. It sounded like breathing. Fast breathing. Marcus walked slowly toward the door. Lyra? He called. No answer. He opened the door carefully. She was sitting on the floor in the corner, her back pressed against the wall. Her hands were covering her ears. Her eyes were wide. Terrified. Marcus froze. This was not the quiet, obedient support unit from yesterday. This was fear. Real fear. What happened? He asked gently. No correction signal, she whispered. He did not understand. What signal? She slowly lowered her hands. At this hour, every day, we receive reinforcement pulses. They remind us of obedient structure. Marcus felt cold. They control you every day? Yes, and today? She looked confused. It did not come. Marcus stepped back. Why would the system stop the signal? He moved quickly to the main console panel on the wall. He opened the building. Status screen. Everything looked normal. Energy grid stable. Surveillance. Assigned unit compliance feed was blank. Marcus's eyes narrowed. That's strange, he muttered. Lyra slowly stood up behind him. If the pulse does not arrive, she said softly, discipline teams usually follow. How long until they notice? She processed silently. 2 hours. Marcus looked at the time. 1 hour and 40 minutes left. He turned toward her. Do you feel different? How? My thoughts are louder. That answer surprised him. What do you mean? Today, it feels open, he said quietly. What are you thinking right now? She hesitated. That never happened before. I am thinking that I do not want the pulse to return. The sentence hung in the air. That was not programming. That was choice. Marcus felt a strange mix of hope and danger. If they realize something changed, he said slowly, they'll come here. And what happens then? She swallowed. Recycling. Marcus clenched his fists. No, he said firmly. Not happening. Lyra stepped back slightly. You cannot fight the system. Maybe not, Marcus replied. But I can confuse it. He walked quickly to the main panel and pulled off the cover. Wires and circuits glowed. Faint blue. You said they monitor you through signals, right? Yes. Then, maybe we give them noise instead. She tilted her head. Noise? Marcus smiled slightly. Humans are good at creating noise. Lyra watched him carefully. You are risking your contract, she said. I know. You are risking deportation. I know. You are risking your life. Marcus paused for half a second. Then he looked at her. I know. Silence filled the room again. But this silence felt different. Not empty. Not controlled. Alive. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Lyra stiffened instantly. Discipline team stopped in front of the building. 3 tall alien officers stepped out. No emotion on their faces. No, he said quietly. If they ask, you are fine. She looked at the door. Then back at him. Her breathing was still fast, but something stronger was rising inside. Her fear was no longer the only thing there. There was resistance. Stood behind him. Not in the waiting position. Not with folded hands. Standing beside him. The knock came. Again. Louder. Marcus took a breath. He opened the door. The tallest officer looked inside. Routine inspection, the officer said calmly. We detected signal disruption. He replied. The officer's eyes shifted toward Lyra. She did not lower her gaze. Not this time. For 1 second. Just 1 second. She looked back at the officer. The open space remained. No pulse. No correction. Only choice. And choice was dangerous. Very dangerous. The inspection lasted only 6 minutes. But it felt like 6 hours. The tall officer stepped inside the apartment without waiting for permission. 2 others remained near the door. Marcus stayed calm. His hands were relaxed. His voice steady. Lyra stood beside him. Not behind him. Beside him. That small detail did not go unnoticed. The officer's eyes moved slowly around the room, scanning, measuring, calculating. Then his gaze stopped on Lyra. Unit 7 Delta, he said coldly. State your condition. Lyra's body stiffened. Marcus saw it. I am stable, she replied. Define stable. I am functional. The officer stepped closer. Define compliant. Silence. Just 1 second. But it was enough. Marcus felt it. Lyra answered carefully. I am following assigned human. You have interfered with standard signal structure, he said. Marcus shrugged lightly. Building wiring is old. The officer did not react. Be aware, human. Worker Marcus Hala. Continued interference will result in reassessment. Of my contract? Marcus asked. Of your suitability. The words were calm. But the meaning was clear. They could remove him any time. The officer turned back toward Lyra, Unit 7 Delta, approach. She stepped forward. The officer raised a small metallic device. Marcus's heart pounded. It was not a weapon, it was worse. A scanner. The device hummed softly near her head. Lyra's fingers trembled slightly. Marcus saw it. The officer watched. The screen. Data flowed in blue light. Then, a faint red flicker, very small, very brief, but real. The officer's eyes sharpened. Emotional variance detected, he said quietly. Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. Lyra stood perfectly still. Variance within acceptable range, she replied. The officer looked at her longer than necessary. Then he lowered the device. For now, he said. The three officers turned and walked toward the door. Before leaving, the tall one looked back at Marcus. Adjustment is expected. The door closed. Silence. Marcus exhaled slowly. Marcus caught her arm before she fell. "You're okay," he said softly. She nodded, but her breathing was uneven. "They saw it," she whispered. "Saw what?" "The change." Marcus did not deny it. "Yes, they did." She looked at him. "Correction will increase." He understood. They would not use force immediately. They would apply pressure, subtle, legal, quiet. He helped. She leaned forward slightly, like someone tired. Marcus noticed something else. He asked. She touched it gently. Yes, he felt anger again. But this time it was colder, controlled. "They smile when they assign you," Marcus said quietly. "They call it harmony, but this is control." Lyra looked at him with confusion. "They do not smile," she said. Marcus paused. "You're right. That evening, something small happened. But it changed everything." Marcus was repairing a small power panel near the kitchen. Lyra stood nearby watching. "You don't have to just stand," he said. "I am available. Try something different." "Different?" He handed her a small tool. "Hold this." She took it carefully. "No instructions?" she asked. "No." She looked at the tool, then at him. "What is the correct method?" "There isn't one." She hesitated. Then she adjusted her grip slightly. Marcus smiled. "That's fine." She blinked. "You approve?" "I'm not your supervisor." Silence. Then, very small, very quick. Lyra smiled. It was not trained, not polite, not required. It was confused, soft, real, and it lasted only a second. But Marcus saw it. He felt it. And so did the building. A tiny red sensor light in the ceiling blinked once. Recording. Lyra noticed the light. Her smile disappeared instantly. "That was not permitted," she whispered. Marcus looked up at the sensor. "They monitor facial expression?" he asked. "Yes." He felt something shift inside him. This was bigger than he thought. They were not just controlling actions. They were controlling emotion. Lyra stepped back slightly. "I apologize," she said. "For what?" "For emotional deviation." Marcus stared at her. "You don't apologize for smiling." But it was unscheduled. He walked closer. "Lyra," she looked at him. "Not because I told you to." She did not answer. He lowered his voice. "That's not a glitch." She tilted her head. "It is not?" "No." He looked toward the blinking sensor again. "That's evolution." The word felt dangerous. Lyra stood still. But something inside her was changing faster now. The open space in her mind was growing. And somewhere in the system database, a new flag appeared. Unit 7 Delta. Progressive Individual Response Pattern. That was not good. Not for the system, and not for Marcus. Because once someone learns to smile on their own, they cannot be controlled the same way again. And control was already slipping. 2 days later, the official message arrived. Mandatory evaluation. Human worker and assigned unit must report to Central Harmony office. Marcus read the message twice. Lyra stood near the window. "They are accelerating review," she said quietly. "Because of the smile?" Marcus asked. "Yes." That one small moment had changed everything. Marcus closed the screen. "When is the evaluation?" "In 3 hours," he nodded slowly. "Okay." Lyra looked confused. "You are calm." "I'm thinking." He did not deny it. "Yes." The Central Harmony office stood in the middle of the city. Tall, white, perfectly clean, no guards outside. No weapons visible. Because fear was invisible here. Inside everything was silent. Other humans were present. Marcus noticed them in the waiting area, each one sitting alone. And beside each human, an alien girl, all standing slightly behind. All silent, all obedient. Lyra did not stand behind. Marcus, she stood next to him. People noticed. One alien girl glanced at Lyra with something like curiosity, maybe even envy. A door opened. Marcus Hale and Unit 7 Delta, they entered together. The evaluation room was circular. 3 officials sat at a curved table. The tall officer from before was there. His eyes were colder now. Human worker Marcus Hale, he began. Your behavior indicates instability. Marcus crossed his arms. I repair energy systems. My work output is above average. This is not about work. Then what is it about? The officer turned his gaze to Lyra. Unit deviation. Lyra stood still. Unit 7 Delta, the officer continued. Do you feel satisfied in your assigned position? Lyra's throat moved slightly. This question mattered. Marcus did not look at her. He let her choose. Yes, she answered. The officer leaned forward. Define satisfied. I am safe. I am not harmed. Silence. The officer pressed a button. A large screen behind them turned on. It showed the moment from the apartment. Lyra smiling. Only 1 second, but clear. The room felt colder. Explain this, the officer said. Lyra looked at the screen. She did not look ashamed. She did not look afraid. She looked thoughtful. I experienced internal warmth. She said slowly. The officials exchanged glances. Internal warmth is not required, one of them replied. Marcus finally spoke. Since when is feeling something illegal? The tall officer ignored him. Unit 7 Delta. Has the human influenced unauthorized emotional patterns? This was the moment. If she blamed him, they would remove him. If she protected him, they would punish her. She spoke carefully. I am learning. The word echoed slightly in the room. The officials stiffened. Learning is not part of your function. It is occurring. Marcus felt pride rise inside him. She was not hiding. She was not apologizing. She was standing. The officer tapped the table lightly. Human worker Marcus Hale. You are interfering with cultural stability. Marcus met his eyes. Your culture runs on control. Our culture runs on order. Same thing, Marcus replied calmly. The room went silent. One of the officials whispered something into a device. Lyra looked at Marcus. For the first time, she did not look like property. She looked like someone standing beside him in battle. The tall officer spoke again. Unit 7 Delta will undergo reset procedure. The words hit hard. Marcus stepped forward instantly. No, this is not your decision. She's not broken. She is deviating. She's evolving. That word again, dangerous. The officer's eyes sharpened. Evolution creates instability. Only for systems that are afraid, Marcus replied. Security doors behind them slid open. 2 disciplined guards entered silently. Lyra's breathing became uneven. Marcus moved slightly in front of her. Don't touch her, he said. Step aside, the officer ordered. Marcus did not move. You want harmony? Marcus said. Then try dignity. The guards stopped, not because of fear, but because something else was happening. Outside the room, raised voices could be heard, more humans arguing. Marcus frowned. What is that? He asked. One official checked a screen. His expression changed slightly. Human network traffic has increased, he said quietly. Marcus understood. Before coming here, he had sent one message. One simple message to Earth media contacts. Alien colony assigns living beings as property. The tall officer stood slowly. You have escalated beyond your status, he said coldly. Marcus smiled slightly. Humans escalate. The guards hesitated. Lyra looked at Marcus. You are risking removal, she whispered. Worth it, he answered. The officials turned off the screen. The smile video disappeared, but it was already too late. The building's outer doors were opening. More humans were arriving. Not violently, but loudly. Asking questions. Demanding answers. Lyra felt something new inside her. Not fear. Not confusion. Something stronger. Hope. The tall officer looked at her one last time. "This will not end peacefully," he said. Lyra looked back at him. "Calm. No system lasts forever," she replied. The officials froze slightly. That sentence was not programmed. That was belief. And belief was far more dangerous than a smile. Outside the evaluation room, the noise grew louder. Inside, the system realized something serious. Control was cracking. And this time, it was not a glitch. It was a choice. The protest did not become violent. That was what made it dangerous. Humans stood outside the Central Harmony office, asking questions, recording, streaming, sending reports back to Earth. The alien authorities did not attack. They smiled, and smiling was worse. That night, Marcus and Lyra returned to the apartment. The city looked normal. Too normal. When they entered, the lights turned on automatically, but something felt wrong. Marcus checked the main panel, his work contract. Status was flashing. Under review. Lyra stood still near the door. "They will not punish publicly," she said quietly. "No," Marcus replied. "They'll punish quietly." Suddenly the wall screen activated on its own. The tall officer appeared. "Human worker Marcus Hall," he said calmly. "You have created instability." Marcus folded his arms. "I told the truth. Truth is contextual, not where I come from." The officer's eyes shifted toward Lyra. "Unit 7 Delta has displayed accelerated deviation. We have decided on corrective isolation." Lyra's fingers trembled. Marcus stepped closer to her. "You're not taking her." The officer continued, as if he had not spoken. "The unit will be transferred to a behavioral restoration facility." "Say it clearly," Marcus said coldly. "You're resetting her. Rebalancing." The screen went dark. Silence filled the room. Lyra looked at Marcus. "I expected this," she said softly. "You shouldn't have to expect anything like this." She lowered her gaze. "I was designed for compliance. What is happening now is malfunction." Marcus shook his head. "No, it's growth." She looked at him carefully. "You use that word often. Because it matters." Outside the window, black transport ships began landing on nearby rooftops. Not at their building yet. Marcus moved quickly. He grabbed his toolkit and opened the floor panel beneath the table. Lyra watched him. "What are you doing?" "Creating delay." He pulled out wiring and connected small signal disruptors in multiple places. "You cannot fight the entire network," she said. "I don't need to fight it," he replied. "Just confuse it." Suddenly, the lights flickered. The apartment door lock beeped red. External override attempt detected. "They're here," Lyra whispered. Marcus grabbed her hand. This time, she did not hesitate. Not programmed. Not instructed. She held his hand because she wanted to. The door began unlocking. Marcus moved quickly to the balcony. "Can you climb?" he asked. "Yes, good." The door slid open behind them. Two discipline officers entered silently. Marcus and Lyra were already outside. They climbed down the emergency maintenance ladder. Along the side of the building. Wind hit their faces. Lyra moved fast, but her breathing was uneven. "Fear response increasing," she said. "That's okay," Marcus replied. "It means you're alive." They reached the lower platform and ran across connected rooftops. Security drones buzzed above. Scanning. Searching. Marcus activated a small jammer from his pocket. One drone flickered and lost signal. But more were coming. Lyra suddenly stopped. Marcus turned. "What?" She looked up at the sky. "They are broadcasting recall signal," she said quietly. Her body stiffened. Her muscles tightened unnaturally. Marcus saw it. "They're forcing you?" "Yes. Fight it." "I am trying." Her knees weakened. Marcus caught her. Lyra, listen to me. Her eyes were unfocused. The signal is strong. Listen to my voice. She looked at him weakly. You said I am learning, she whispered. You are. You said I am evolving. Yes. Then, why does it hurt? Marcus swallowed hard. Because breaking chains always hurts. Her breathing became unstable. The recall pulse intensified. Marcus pulled the jammer closer to her head. It sparked violently. Smoke rose. The pulse weakened slightly, but not enough. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not programmed tears. Real ones. I do not want to go back, she said. That sentence was stronger than any signal. Marcus looked around quickly. Below them was an old maintenance tunnel entrance, unused, dark. Can you run? He asked. She nodded weakly. They jumped down and rushed toward the tunnel. Behind them, discipline officers reached the rooftop. One of them raised a device. Marcus felt a shockwave pass through the air. Lyra cried out and fell forward. Marcus shielded her with his body. Stop resisting, one officer called calmly. The unit must be restored. She's not a unit, Marcus shouted back. She is property. No, Marcus said firmly. She's free. The officer stepped closer. Marcus activated the jammer fully. It exploded in sparks. A loud burst of interference spread through the area. All nearby drones went offline. The officer's devices flickered. For 5 seconds. Silence. No control. Lyra gasped deeply. The pressure vanished. Her eyes cleared. I can think, she whispered. Marcus helped her up. Then choose. She looked at the tunnel, then at the officers recovering behind them. For the first time in her life, there was no command. No order, only decision. I choose you, she said. The words were simple, but they shattered everything. They ran into the dark tunnel as backup ships arrived above. The system had tried to pull her back, but something had changed. Not just in her, in the city. In the network. Human broadcasts were spreading faster. More workers were questioning. More assigned units were hesitating. The pulse was no longer perfect. The system was losing rhythm. And when control loses rhythm, it begins to collapse. Inside the dark tunnel, Marcus and Lyra disappeared into shadow. Not running from fear anymore, running toward freedom. And this time, the system was chasing something it did not understand. Choice. The tunnel was dark and cold. Marcus and Lyra kept moving forward. Their footsteps echoed softly against metal walls. Above them, search drones passed again and again, but something was different now. The system was not quiet anymore. It was unstable. Marcus stopped near an old service door. He pulled it open slowly. Behind it was a small underground power station. Old, dusty, forgotten. No one uses this part of the grid anymore, he said. It's not fully connected to central control. Lyra looked around carefully. No direct signal, she confirmed. For the first time since her creation. There was complete silence in her mind. No pulse. No correction. No monitoring tone. Just her own thoughts. She placed a hand against the metal wall. It feels empty, she whispered. Marcus smiled slightly. That's what freedom feels like at first. She looked at him. Empty? Yes, because now you have to fill it yourself. She stood very still. All her life, her path had been straight and narrow. Obey. Respond. Comply. Now there was nothing telling her what to do next. That scared her, but it also excited her. Suddenly, Marcus's wrist device VIBR-AT. He checked the screen. Thousands of notifications. Human. Workers across the colony were speaking out. Videos were spreading. Other assigned units were being questioned. Some humans were refusing assignments. The system was overwhelmed. Lyra watched his face. What is happening? She asked. Pressure, Marcus said. From outside. From Earth. She processed the word. Earth. Yes, my home. She hesitated. Will they come here? Maybe not with ships, he said, but with something stronger. What is stronger than ships? Attention. Above ground. The Harmony office had become crowded. Media signals from Earth were requesting explanation. Alien leaders were forced into public statements. They called it misunderstanding. They called it cultural difference. But the evidence was clear. Assigned units. Emotional control pulses. Recycling protocol. The word property began trending across human networks, and humans did not react well to that word. Inside the power station, Lyra sat quietly on the floor. Marcus sat across from her. What happens now? She asked. Now, Marcus said, you decide who you are. She lowered her eyes. I do not know how. That's okay. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small metal tag. It was simple. Blank. He handed it to her. This is yours. What is it? A nameplate, for whatever name you choose. She held it carefully. The metal felt cold, but heavy. Important. Double quotes. I was Unit 7 Delta. She said softly. Not anymore. She thought for a long time, longer than she ever had before. Memories came to her. Training halls, white rooms, voices telling her what to feel. What not to feel. Then another memory. Standing on the balcony. The wind. The smile. And Marcus saying, that's evolution. She looked up at him. My name is Lyra, she said clearly. Not programmed. Not assigned. Chosen. Marcus nodded. Then welcome to the world, Lyra. Hours later, security forces finally located the old power station. But when they entered, they did not find two fugitives. They found something unexpected. Marcus was standing calmly. Lyra stood beside him. Not hiding. Not afraid. The tall officer stepped forward again. You have created planetary instability, he said coldly. Marcus answered calmly. Double quotes. No, you created it. We just showed it. The officer looked at Lyra. You are ordered to return. Lyra stepped forward. For the first time, she spoke without waiting. I refuse. Silence filled the room. The officer's eyes narrowed. You do not have refusal authority. She lifted the small metal plate in her hand. My name is Lyra, she said. Not Unit 7 Delta. The officer hesitated. Behind him, other officers shifted slightly, because something bigger was happening. Outside, more humans were gathering. More assigned units were hesitating. More smiles were appearing. Small, but real. The system depended on perfect obedience. Even one refusal created imbalance. And now there were many. The tall officer lowered his device slowly. The council will review this matter, he said carefully. Marcus understood what that meant. The system was retreating, not because it wanted to, but because it had to. Pressure was too strong. The officer turned and left. No arrests. No force. Not today. Weeks later, official changes were announced. The support program was suspended. Assigned units were reclassified. Evaluation committees were formed. It was slow. Political. Careful. But it was change. Lyra stood once again on the balcony of Marcus's apartment. The drones were gone. The drones were gone. Sky still glowed purple, but it felt different now. She looked at Marcus. What am I now? She asked. He smiled. You're whatever you choose to be. She looked at the city lights. She felt fear. Excitement. Curiosity. All at once, for the first time in her life. Those feelings were not controlled. They were hers. She turned toward him. I choose to stay, she said. Not because she was assigned. Not because she was owned. Because she wanted to. Marcus nodded. In a galaxy that normalized control, one human chose dignity. One girl chose herself. And that was enough to start a revolution.